Our, our Father, the creator of all things, he made things simply and simple for us to understand. It's the scientific systems and the scientific scientists out there that want to complicate everything so that we can't understand and we think it's above our heads and we won't know
They're
nothing.
trying to blur your vision.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we are shared screen now. Let me go ahead and we don't need that showing, so let me blow this up. Let's come over to, let's just start out with this image right here. What we're looking at is basically this. We're looking at the big island of Hawaii. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to ask you to forget what you think that you're looking at. Okay. Kind of just put it aside for a second and think about the movie Avatar that had the giant trees in it. Think about, um, I mean, just looking at this image, it's hard to understand what you're looking at. See, Hawaii, the big island, is 120 miles across at the base. I don't know which angle they measured it from, but 120 miles. Okay, it kind of is like this. Okay, the base is 120 miles, and then you just have the tip of the old tree stump, the old mountain, sticking out the top above the water. You just have just the tip. The high majority of what's there is underneath the water, and there are massive drop offs here. Okay, and so if you back out here for a second and you think, well, okay, if this was a tree, okay, well, what kind of a tree was it? Okay, this obviously back in the day before the waters rose, before all the trees were cut down, and all the water that was held in all the trees flushed back out onto the ground, and then also the pumps from below were still on, which flooded the earth. Um, before that happened, imagine this area here with no water. Okay, turn the water off in your head. And I can't swear to you, of course, that the topography that you're seeing around the tree or around the so called volcano island is correct. And like I said, we are theorizing and will improve upon these theories as time goes. Okay, so we might say something here that's part of the theory that could be incorrect, but we're going to do what we got for the moment. Okay, so if I let me click this and then turn it back on again. Okay. And just let this rotate for a second, and you can kind of just look out around and see if at any point you see where it looks like potentially a tree fell down in the distance, where there's a straight line where a tree could have fallen down. Oh, look, we just happen to have one right there. You see what happens to a tree, and you know this by going out into the forest. When a tree falls down, well, if there was no water there, it would have somewhat stayed. If the waters then came, depending on how long it was, some of it may have floated off, some of it may have moved some, and over time, of course, you can have breaks. The wood starts breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces. Assuming that the big island was the main tree itself, okay? And then you could have had, let's say, if we're thinking about the kinds of trees that this would have been, because this was likely a very low area in our world, and it had its massive tree and probably other massive things growing out of it, and you would have to think, okay, maybe this was a cypress. You know, the type of cypresses that, let me see, I'm sure I've got an image here for you. You know, something kind of like that, or something kind of like that, okay? You see how you've got several cypresses growing close to each other here, of course. And if you go back over here to our image, you have kind of that thing going on here as well. And then you also have, if we notice, cypresses have something what's called knees. The root system comes around and comes up out of the soil and out of the water, and they call it knees. Okay, it's points that come up near cypress trees. We have them down here in the south like this. Roxanne and myself have seen plenty of those. So if you come here and you say, okay, well maybe this is the tree, some of the tree remains itself that's laying out here. And if we look around, we can probably see where there are other remnants as well that would be noticeable. And there may also be other tree and other vegetation that was very large, remnants of that mixed in the visible seabed. And like I said, we don't know, and I'm not sure if they know, if this is really what the seabed looks like. But it's, again, we're talking somewhat theory here. Now, I'm not so much talking theory as to that this is a giant ancient tree. We're a bit past that. What I'm talking about is the theory of, what is this over here? Was this remnants of this tree, or was this...
Is that a limb? Is that fruit?
was it some of the fruit? Was it the one of the knees sticking up out from the cypress tree, or the group of cypress trees that were here? And if you look at, let's see here, let's go to the fruit of a cypress tree. Now, you have to realize this tree, if we consider the mathematics of the tree, this base of this tree is shown as being 120 miles wide in this image here. And below it, that little speck that you see down there at the bottom, that represents Manhattan. However, it's still too big. Manhattan down there is still too big, because Manhattan is only 2 miles wide. You know, New York City. It's actually only 2 miles wide. And
That would have been a speck.
Yeah, it would literally be a speck. This is 120 miles. So you can see the scale is off. Because this is, let's see, you could probably fit 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8, maybe 10. 8 or 10 of these in there. And that would only be 2 times 10. That'd be 20 miles. So this scale that you're looking at here is massively off.
You could put 50 to 60 Manhattans on the base.
Yeah, you could put 60 Manhattans across the base of it. That's exactly correct. So, again, this is the scale we're talking about of the type of tree that Hawaii would have been and likely was. Okay. So when we come over and we look at the fruit, how big was the fruit? How big were the knees? The knees would have been as big as Manhattan.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the knees, if you back off of here a little bit, let me flatten it back out. Maybe it'll behave better. And you look around on the ground out here, you see little things laying everywhere. The book of Enoch says that the fruit and the limbs and everything was scattered when these trees were cut down.
Take the fruit off, scatter it across the world, strip the leaves from the limb, strip the limb from the tree, and cut the trees down so the monsters couldn't reach heaven.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's something interesting about this tree stump as well. You have Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa that are two of the major ports, volcano outlets on this tree stump. Okay, and if you think about trees like cypresses and other trees that are like it, you can see how it would have been easy for, depending on where the tree was cut off in, say, this image here, you could have had, like, we all know that trees split into major sections. Some trees have two major trunks going up, and that's kind of what it looks like was going on here, and maybe even possibly more than two major trunks, because we have technically an outlet here where the energy comes up out the ground at Kilauea. Then we have Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea, and then over here there's another one that's not as active over here in this area, right there, as well. But we're talking about literally the top of a tree stump. So the energy that's under the ground, which again, remember how massive it would have to be, way bigger than this scale. Again, 60 Manhattans across the bottom, and it would take you 6.5 hours to drive around it in a car at 60 miles an hour. We're talking about a massive tree stump. So you're talking about a massive amount of root system that would go down into the earth. There's generally as much under the earth as there is above the earth. So,
as above is below.
Yep, exactly. So the tree canopy would be a similar image but upside down. And so are we talking about a massive amount of potential energy stored in the ground that could produce something like a volcano? Absolutely. It's obvious at this point if you start going and looking at volcanoes around the world. And I'm not saying every single one represented a tree. It could have been something else. It could have been a massive whatever, a vine. It could have been a massive whatever.
Well, when you go and look at all of these sites we've been looking at, and you look at them on the geological mapping of like magnetism and energy of what it's putting off, every single one of them replicate what we're saying, that those trees were massive sources of energy. They're still resonating that. You can tell it from the radar. When you go over them, it's like a lit up spot.
Yep. Yep. The toroidal energy field is still there. Now, I'm going to tease here real quick, and we're going to get to it. I mean, it'll be very long. We'll get to it. But if y'all guys remember, I said, because some people would wonder, why, Daniel, are you so interested in the giant trees? Why, Daniel, are you so interested in toroidal energy fields and the way the energy flows on everything on the planet? Why, Daniel, do you keep calling the world a world? Why, Daniel? It's because once you see and start to understand one of these big pieces, it then opens other doors to be able to see new things. Something new that actually Roxy brought out today. Roxy is with the Roxy Files on YouTube as well as on Rumble, and she's also the RoxyFiles.com. She pointed out that we should go hunt down the Tower of Babel, because the Tower of Babel should have been a tree that they were climbing. Why build something out of stone that already existed then, that reached into the heavens? Like little fable stories as a kid that come to mind is like Jack and the Beanstalk and things like that. But the Tower of Babel, we're not going to get to it quite yet. You can say what you want to, Roxy, but we're not going to get to it quite yet. We're going to show you where the Tower of Babel likely actually is or was. And it is a giant tree stump that happens to be a volcano and also happens to produce a lot of water, live spring fresh water coming out of the bottom as well, because the pumping system is still there. So part of the tree is bringing up water from below, and part of it is mutated and changed in such a way over time that it's now producing lava, bringing that energy to the surface as well, which is what all these ancient trees, aka volcanoes, were doing. Um, don't give it all away, Roxy, but if you have anything you want to say on that, feel free to.
Well, when you think about the Tower of Babel, it tells you that they were trying to reach the heavens. So, like Daniel says, why would you build one when you could just climb one? I mean, if there's a tree there next to a building, why would you go drag stones from somewhere else to build one when you can just cut some notches in the side of that tree and climb it?
Or maybe the tree had a vine growing around it like the serpent, going up, 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 and you could just walk up that vine, cut little
Jack and the
notches, whatever.
Beanstalk.
Yeah, like Jack and the Beanstalk. Exactly. And we don't know, we weren't there, but we can use our minds and our mind's eye in order to theorize and see these things in a greater way,
Distance.
at a greater distance, by backing out and looking at the bigger picture, uh, way out and looking at the bigger picture. Give you an example here on size. The tower, the tower you're looking at here. Let's see here. This is a Devil's Tower, which is in
Wyoming.
Wyoming, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And the Devil's Tower, let's see, it was, let's see, how wide was it? Let's see, I thought I asked here. Okay, here we go. Devil's Tower, according to the internet, is approximately 1,000 feet wide at the bottom. So not even a mile. You know, it's roughly a no, a fifth of a mile, 0.19 of a mile wide. Now, this it's still massive. These are people climbing on the fibers of the wood. Okay. These are they call them basalt columns. That's the name they gave it. I didn't. And they say that this was made by a volcano or by lava. And that is actually complete bullcrap, because this design, this I can't even say it, hexagonal fiber design is the exact design you will find in wood. If you take a stick up off the ground and start stripping away the little fibers, this is it. These are the fibers. But I want you to notice
Devil's Tower, if it was a tree, would have been on an estimate of about 4 miles tall.
4 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, about 4 miles,
And
based on width versus height. If stump, 4.9 miles.
and this one, the Devil's Tower, compared to Hawaii, the Big Island, Hawaii, that tree would have been 630 times wider than Devil's Tower. So
Yeah,
this one
that
here,
would have been a weed.
yeah, this is a weed. So something a lot smaller, obviously. Uh, yeah, almost compared to the tree that was Hawaii. Yeah, just this is like a weed.
Well, and you got to think in comparison of something that we as 5-6 foot humans can understand. You talking about the difference in a redwood and a oak or a pine, or you
Hmm.
got to think about it in perception. Different trees have different sizes. To today, the red sequoias of California are massive compared to the trees in my front yard. So
Right.
Hawaii versus Devil Tower is exactly what you're looking at. Different types of trees. That's where I'm headed down, is the geology of trying to map these stumps that we think they are, what their current base material is versus others, versus what is pine tree now versus oak tree now. If it dies, what does it become? And then that tells us what kind of trees those stumps are.
You know, what kind of trees, then we'll start to understand which kind of trees is it that creates volcanoes? Which kind of trees is it creates this or that or something else? It all leads, the more you discern these things, the more it will help you understand things. And you say, well, still, Daniel, why is it that you need to know about so much about the trees and the big trees? It's because we're getting ready to show you the Tower of Babel, where the angels came down. The same kind of place. Now, I know that they didn't say that the angels came down on the Tower of Babel, but they came down on a tree. You see? They came down on a tree. A tree itself is literally in the image of, symbolically and physically in the image of a portal as well. It's the same as a torus field, the same as the energy field that exists around our bodies. And once you understand all those pieces and start to put it together, it allows you to be able to find things and understand things and look at them differently. Like, again, we're going to show you the location of what likely looks like it was the Tower of Babel.
Well, and if you look around,
not
look
only
around
what's
that right there,
Mm-hmm.
the little trees around it.
Yeah.
We've discussed this.
Those
All right,
weeds?
if yeah, the weeds. If the fruit was stripped of the trees and scattered around it, those would then become the type of trees that repopulated around the bottom of that stump. But you got to understand our oxygen level dropped so much when these trees were cut off. So every generation of being behind it adjusted for the oxygen level and became smaller.
Yep.
If humans were 28 foot tall then and we're 5 foot now, trees would have reduced by 75% as time goes along. So the trees you see now are the same trees that were here then. They've just reduced in size due to nutrient and oxygen deficiency versus what they were then.
Different oxygen, different water situations, different environment. A whole different setup. Let's see here. Let's thinking about, Hawaii being this giant tree, this giant volcano. There's things that it will have if it is truly what we're saying. Okay, like let's run the search here. Let's see. And I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again for anybody who hasn't seen it. Hawaii basalt columns. Okay, so here is an example of basalt columns in Hawaii. Now, this is supposedly a volcano that's boiled up from the bottom of the ocean, stacking lava on top of lava on top of lava. But somehow, see if this image is going to be big enough. Nope. Let me just go to images here, I guess. I want to see that image.
Anybody who's got access to Google Earth, just take Google Earth and zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the topographical under the water, around the edge of the water. You know what water does when it runs consistently? It creates a groove. You can look at how dirt is piled up. Just think about the hurricane that went through the mountains here a while back, that Hurricane Helene, and all the damage. Silver Sister, thank you. If you look at what that water done when it went through there, where it pushed that dirt, it wiped out everything in its path and just pushed cars and houses and cut rivers that had never been there. Think about what happened when these trees snapped off. The force of that water and what it would have done topographically to this planet. That's wild looking. What is that?
This is tree fibers that have been petrified.
Okay.
It's on the edge of. You can see it's right at the edge of the water here.
I was seeing an angry bullfrog.
And then, of course, there's what's considered lava, which are the remains transmuted of the tree itself, the energy in the tree itself, basically the sap and the wood and everything that blends together over time when it transmutates. And that is in Hawaii, and this is in Hawaii. And you can see that these are just like what is shown in other locations that have these basalt fibers.
Take a piece of celery and tear it apart, and
Yeah,
it will look just like that.
and put it under a microphone, magnifying
Yeah,
glass, and you'll
it's the
see
exact same thing.
they're
The
octagonal.
structure, the structure of a human hair, the structure of a piece of celery, the structure of a tree. They don't want you to know what these trees are because these
Mhm.
trees are what they're pumping these natural resources out of the earth. The gold, the copper, the
Mhm.
silver, the granite, the oil.
Yep.
They know this. We're just slow behind them trying to catch up. They understand that the roots of these trees are the veins of gold and the veins of coal that they're
Yep.
digging out of these. Why do you think they're digging in the mountains? That's
Coal,
why they always go to the
oil.
mountains to get this stuff.
Yep. It's all
Just
coming
depends
from
on
the
what kind of
trees.
tree it was as to what the natural resource byproduct is. And they tricked us into forever believing that oil and petroleum was dinosaur juice. First off, there ain't no dinosaurs. There's dragons, folks. If you don't know, T Rex was a dragon. I can show you the skeletal. It's a dragon all day long. He did not have little arms, it was just where his wings went. But where you see animal fossils, the depth you see them versus the depth they have to drill at to get to oil, there's no way in the world it is fossilized anything besides natural matter. Trees and weeds and flowers, and it's compressed up under the pressure of earth. They are lying to us.
Here's another image. This is in Hawaii as well.
That sure looks like a cypress stump does after it's set out in the river for a long time. I
Does
can
it?
imagine what that salt water probably does to it.
Hmm. So this kind of rocks, these basalt column things, they should not be on top of a volcano. They should not be there if it is what they've told us a volcano is. Have you figured out yet that they've lied to us about everything? If you haven't, okay, but most of you have. So why would they tell us the truth about volcanoes and things like this? And why would they tell us the truth about the trees? And a better question is, why won't they tell us the truth? It's because of what we're going to find as we continue to dig and to discern with what we're doing right here, right now. We're exposing
Well,
knowledge that no one speaks on the planet.
and they didn't. Maybe they didn't have the knowledge to discern all of this, but I can guarantee you they know it now. But they're never ever going to back up on the lie that they told us to begin with,
No,
because they've been teaching this information for eons in that indoctrination center that they call public school.
the Rockefeller education system.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I found out, I haven't even thought to mention this to you. Do you know how they propose how many beds they're going to need in a prison in 20 years? They actually do an estimation off of this for 20 years. They
A
look at
little
the
off
state.
subject, but no, go for it. Go for it.
I got to spit this out. We're talking about schools.
Okay.
If they need to know how many beds they're going to need in a prison in 20 years to estimate the prison size, they look at the standardized scores of third graders and to how many people are having trouble reading and writing. Based off of that number is what they estimate the prison beds off of.
Well, I should be in prison then. I mean, you know me. You made A's in school. I made D's. Uh,
I made
in,
trouble. That's what I made.
until until I got to until I realized that the way they were trying to teach me wasn't the way that I learned. I learn a different way than they try to teach in school. I learn through visual and audio observation. I don't learn. Back then, I did not learn as well by like going home and reading and doing homework. I just fall asleep. I never did homework. I ended up graduating high school with like if a 4.0 is an A, I had like a 3.7. I had A's on pretty much everything. But going back to your point of how they estimate how big of a prison they'll need, Based on the fact of the rate of depopulation right now, we won't need quite as big of prisons because they're good. They're not going to be around to go to prison. Don't look like, and
Okay,
there's
sorry,
not
didn't
enough
mean to get
babies.
sidetracked.
Yeah, there's a little sidetrack, but that's okay. All right, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a hot spring. See, if a mountain, and we know these are every a lot of places, and they're pretty much mostly all in the mountains. Doesn't have to be, but they're mostly all in some kind of a mountainous area. You've got hot springs, which means there's heat down below. Something's stored a bunch of heat down below, like the root systems in a giant tree, and that pumping system is going to continue in certain trees and certain circumstances. There's a lot of variables to bring up that water from below. So you'll get hot springs like this, like these are. This is in Hawaii. Here's another one that's in Hawaii, hot springs. Uh, this is a year-round waterfall. It's called Akaka Falls, something like that, Akaka Falls, and they've got a state park there and so on. Here's an image of Akaka Falls. It is a year-round waterfall that runs down from the top of the mountain.
Well,
Water.
just like I explained before, when you're siphoning gas out of something with a water hose, once you start that siphon, it's going to run until you
Mm-hmm.
manually cap it off or stop it, as long as
To it,
there's no
to
end
it
in the
loses.
source it's siphoning from.
Yeah, to it loses its prime because of an air pocket or something. But there is no place on the top of a mountain for this much water to be pouring 365 days a year. Here's another one in Hawaii that's even bigger. Um, this one is called, no, this is Akaka Falls also, excuse me. I have another one here in a second. This is Akaka Falls also. You can notice if you look at the walls behind this thing, there's a hint of tree fiber even in it. But I also know that there's a lot of lava that has built up in Hawaii as well. But the fact that there's any tree fibers left tells you what you're probably dealing with. This is Waipaio, something like that. This is a double falls that runs year round in Hawaii. They Some people call it the Jurassic Falls or Jurassic Park, and yeah, just year round, water flowing from somewheres that should run out, but it don't, and it runs uh, off of here down into the ocean is where it runs to. This is the general location and area of what we're talking about. A lot of the scenes from like the movie Jurassic Park were filmed in this area.
Back out on that image just a second. All right, look at your striations right off the coast there. There you go.
Well,
Yep.
you've got major water runoff. Kind of looks like off the coast of New York. When the water levels changed, went up, went down. You've got major runoffs because it's not going to, assuming that's what that is, runoff areas, it's not going to make those trenches like that unless there's a
Well, not only
continuous
that, now
flow.
you got root rot too. When you have root rot, you're going to have collapse of soil. Like I was telling you in the
Mm-hmm.
front yard,
Mm-hmm.
when you kill a tree, when you cut it off, and the tree dies and it rots, the stumps, the roots rot and turn into lava or gold or granite. Some of those things that it turns into, there's going to be a change in the actual physical volume of that root. So when it shrinks, you're going to have cave in on those spots, which will look like trenches as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You're
can see
looking
what
at
you're saying.
soil collapse from root rot.
Potentially. But this is should be up above in this case. Should be up above. Maybe, maybe not.
I'm sure
It's
look
hard to
like
know.
veins and roots, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything seems to in this world repeat in its design, which is part of the whole simple
The
process.
human body is designed after this. We're
Yeah.
all of the same design.
Yep. Exactly. Now, let's I'm gonna let you explain a little bit about how your thought processes of how we ended up looking at this area of the world.
Okay, well, I started earlier today. I started researching. We've been looking at these stumps. So show me a big stump with a staircase up it. Because if you're building a Tower of Babel, why would you go drag stones or build a tower? If you are, I don't care if you're 5 foot tall or 25 foot tall, when you're looking up at the sky, that's a long way away. And you're not gonna build something. You're gonna jack in the beanstalk it. You're gonna try to get up that tree. So I went looking for tree stumps, mountains, whatever we call them. We're gonna call them tree stumps. I started looking for tree stumps with a staircase on them that looked like it had been man-made. I came up with 8. I went and looked at them all and I narrowed them down, and this is where we end up. We end up in Turkey at Mount Nimrut,
Nim what?
which Nimrut,
Nimrut? That
N
sounds a
E M
lot
R
like
U T.
that sounds a lot like Nephilim, Nibiru, a lot of the interesting
Well,
ones.
when you go back to the root language, it takes you back to Sheba, the god of destruction, and King Nimrod. Um, and this was by chance that I had no association when I started looking at this of Nimrod and Sheba. I just went looking for a mountain with a staircase that had a volcano and had water. Because we now know that where we find a stump, we're more than likely finding some massive natural resource, water, and oil. If we search this stuff geologically, we can tell you there was a flood. I don't care if you're
Yeah,
religious, what your religion was. Every single religion out there tells you about a flood. Geologically, we can go prove that flood happened.
you can do
So
it
if
with
we
Google
look at
Maps.
the earth from a geological standpoint, the dirt, the water, the striations in the land, and stop worrying about what they said it was and look at it from a 50,000 foot view on Google Earth, you can see it. Everywhere that I can see that there was possible this massive trees that went down, you'll see like over there in Libya and Egypt where it looks barren. All right. Willie is a farmer. He's told me when you take a massive plant out of a field, if you're a farmer and you plant 100 acres or something, and you take it out, it has thereby stripped the soil of the nutrients which would have normally recycled. So if you go look at the globe, everywhere you got green land, there's always a barren spot. Look at Nevada and the desert out in those areas. We know over in Wyoming we got trees over there that were whacked off that were massive. Right to the left of those big old trees, you got a barren spot. So here we got Turkey. We got a tree stump with a staircase up it. And it just happens to have a whole bunch of stone,
Gods,
whatever, yeah,
images,
of,
idols of gods,
yeah, and
images
it,
of what I would call, because I think that they all these different cultures, religions, and time periods, they had all these different names for the same group of deities or whatever you want to call them that came from the heavens. And they're there, and we're going to look at them here. I did want to mention real quick, Roxy, and I now want you to keep going. Most people, when they think of Babylon, like the Tower of Babel and all this, they think of, oh, well, it's in Iraq, like Iraq's right here. But we're actually going to, well, right across the border from what the current day border is for Iraq, and it used
but
to
the
be
border
different.
wouldn't have been there back
The
then.
border wasn't there. The
Borders are man-made lines,
Yeah, and these have all changed, and now it's in the area that's considered to be Turkey. Okay.
which is where they tried to claim they found Noah's boat up a mountain, by the way,
Yeah,
which is not because that boat is too small. Because then we
it's
got to
way
go back to
small.
my mathematical calculations of
It is
humans
way
were
small.
25 foot
It could
tall.
have been a
Yeah,
boat, but it didn't. I don't
it
think it
wasn't
had one.
Noah's.
So before we go down another rabbit hole, let's stay focused here. So we're here just across the border of Iraq. Okay, Iraq's right here. There's Baghdad right down here. And if we come up just across, you see this lake area here. Okay. Now I'm going to switch over to something that's a little bit easier to see. Let's see here.
That last
Yeah,
image gave you a good outline of the tree stump.
yeah, right here. There's that lake over here on the left, and right here there is a tree stump.
Back out just a hair, and you can see the outline of the actual like layer of the stump.
Mm-hmm. And I can hit 3D here and rotate it around. As you can see, there's hills, mountains heading upwards on every side, like if there was something there that the center kind of disintegrated, rotted out, whatever happened in this case. But explain the name situation, Roxy.
Well, when I look at a name, I go back to gematria, I go to root language, and where these words come from. Oh gosh, I might have
The
closed that window.
phonetics and everything.
Phonetics and everything about it. Nimrod was supposed to have been a god. Um, Nimrod was a god who, I don't know what I done with that page.
He was biblically, he was a man of, he became, it actually kind of says that he became a god. He was considered to be,
He considered himself a god.
probably, yeah, but he
Yeah.
became a great warrior and all these kind of things, and he's supposed to be, was the one
He
behind building or constructing what was considered to be the Tower of Babel. But if you have trees that are reaching the heavens, we're talking trees that were, okay, if the base of the tree is 120 miles at the stump, 120 miles, how tall is that tree? It reaches the heavens. So if you're reaching the heavens, would you go down here in the desert and build a tower out of rocks, or would you come over here and climb this tree? You'd come over here and you'd climb the tree. You'd, just like Jack and the Beanstalk, going up and finding the giant. Well, the giant in this case is a little bit different. I can show you an image of the giants. This is a depiction of what it looks like on top of
the summit.
the summit of
Yeah,
that mountain.
this is up on the summit of a mountain.
And I'll let you describe about the heads and all that kind of stuff.
They are beheaded, as you can see here, and the heads have been displayed down below them as if partially buried. When you look at a lot of the heads, they're just beheaded. Now, there's some weathering there over the years, but I mean, these things been there.
Look at the
They've
giant that was at the top of that came down the beanstalk, or came down the tree. He's a giant that was up there, and this is a depiction. That they created an idol for these deities that they ran into or whatever.
But look at what's broken off of the front of it.
The nose on that one is busted off.
The nose on all of them are busted.
That one there don't look so much busted completely off. Well, the tip of it is.
That's the woman.
Let me see if there's. I could have probably pulled some other.
A lot of ancient statuaries that are up, these heads, the Sphinx, a lot of them. Look at the ones that the noses are missing off of. Most of the time, we've all heard that saying, cutting your nose off to spite your face. That literally, we've heard that since we were children. I don't know if other people have, but down here in the South we have, cutting your nose off to spite your face. It's an idiom. It's telling you that an act of revenge or spite will ultimately harm yourself. That spiteful behavior will hurt you, not the person you're after, because you do it out of an instantaneous anger. But these are the actual bodies of what those were. This is, some people say these were down there, it says Zeus and Apollo. That's what they think they were.
It's the names culturally that supposedly they might have had
associated with their god.
Yeah,
And when we talk about religion, a lot of times we talk
There's
about
Apollo, Helios, Mithras,
Hermes.
Hermes.
Yeah.
These are all different names given to the same character, which I would say a lot of people would fit into the category of fallen angels or
Well,
deities that come from above.
if you look at religion not as a look at all religions, look at their story, don't look at the details, just look at the outline, the characters, how many of these characters were there. And it doesn't matter what religion it's in, whether it's in Viking mythology, Greek gods, the Holy Bible, the Quran, um, Tibet. I mean, all these different religions, they all have the same story. They're told a little different,
Yep.
but that is the exact same thing as I see a car wreck and you see a car wreck. We don't see the same thing, but we both saw the car wreck. It's like watching somebody rob a bank. When the cop comes in and asks you to describe him, I might have noticed he was wearing tennis shoes. You might have noticed he was wearing a leather jacket, but neither one of us noticed the other. It's the same theory with a lot of these religious stories. It's all the same stories told from a different perspective.
And then
If you
translated over
remember,
time.
right. If you remember, I don't know if y'all ever played this game as a child, but we used to play this game called the Whisper Game. You would write a sentence down on a postcard. You'd read it, whisper it to the person next to you's ear. You had to whisper it. Well, then they transferred the same message on, the same message on. After you went through 30 people in the classroom and the last one wrote down, it was a completely different sentence from where it
Yep.
started. It might have been Sally's wearing a pink shirt, but 30 people later, Sally bought a pink shirt.
Or something completely different. Yeah.
Completely different. Word of mouth changes everything. Point of view and perspective changes everything.
Yep.
So we have to go back and look at all perspectives, take all those pieces of the puzzle and lay them out and see where those stories overlap and the pieces match up. Then you start figuring out which pieces actually go in the puzzle.
Now, the story of this mountain, this old tree, the story of it, when you were looking it up earlier, it said that this was what was believed about the mountain.
It was the mountain of destruction.
Okay.
That's why they call it Shiva. Nobody climbs it because they think it's cursed. And up the side of that mountain is a man-made staircase as if someone had tried to climb it.
And you said some stuff earlier too about how what was it you said? The naming of it, and the locals believed, and it had to do something with the name itself, which is the Nimrod name. I don't know
Right, it come from I closed a bunch of my windows because it was screwing up our bandwidth. My brain's on fire from everything I read this morning.
Right.
I'm not ignoring anybody in chat, y'all. I'm over here doing research while we're talking, so don't think I'm ignoring any of
Yeah,
you.
it's hard to chat, talk, and do a live stream.
Research.
And
Trying
research.
to and research. I'm trying to figure. Oh, Nimrod means rebellion against God.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Nimrod.
And you know, all
Nimrod, the root of
Nimrod.
rebellion. Okay,
Mhm.
there you go. Nimrod is rebellion against God, and Nimrut meant the root of rebellion. Tower of Babel. They thought they were better than God, and they tried to climb the Tower of Babel. Nimrod was a god who basically believed in one world order.
Yeah.
By historical Babylonian one world order, one dude rules everything. And to my understanding, I don't know this is fact, this is theory. To my understanding from what I found about Nimrod was he thought the higher he was on land, the more he could see, the more was under his rule. He was the mighty one.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be the god, not just a god. He wanted to be the god. He wanted to make himself God.
And we have the same thing, of course, going on again today. The same kind of extreme ego, raised to believe that they're God, from birth, basically.
Now, or do you have the? Yeah, you're up in the map. Can you zoom out
Um,
when you get a break?
yeah, I'm just what I was thinking. Reason why I came down here is because I wanted to see if there were any obvious uh, tree stumps down here, and I
All
haven't
right. Well, where was
in
one of the
Iraq.
first places that we raided after 9/11?
We raided an old area of Iraq that had a museum.
Imagine that.
Mm.
Every one of these
Supposedly they were
wars.
going after the DNA of Nimrod. Nimrod,
Imagine that.
or was it Nimrod, or was it
It was Nimrod. He was supposedly Osiris, the resurrected god of Egypt. Every one of these wars is about collecting religious artifacts. Hitler showed you that. Every time Hitler went into a town and he took it, the first thing he did was went into the churches, the Masonic temples, anywhere he could, and stole all of their religious artifacts. The more artifacts you had, the more knowledge you had about where we all started.
right? I just ran a search to see are there any volcanoes
In Iraq?
In Iraq. Um, says no.
Now, Mount this mountain we're looking at,
Oh, it
Nimrod, Nimrud.
says you got to go up to Turkey to find.
if
Oh, it says go up to Turkey. It says contains active and dormant volcanoes like Mount Ararat and Nimrud.
All right, well, geometry wise, those pyramids right over there to the left in Egypt
Mm-hmm.
on that plateau are geometrically aligned with Nimrud. Every one of these tree stumps we've been looking at that are volcanoes are geometrically aligned with the pyramids. Every single one of them. Those trees were a source of energy.
Oh yeah.
The pyramids were energy multipliers. That's your electric station, just like your Ori Electric or your Ori telephone for communications. That's our local electric and phone company around here. But you get it. Duke Power, whatever. Verizon.
See if I.
That's your Duke Power and your Verizon. They use water and they use geometry based off of these trees, which are stumps now that they call mountains. If you look at the mountains that look like tree stumps and you look at the pyramids, they all line up. They're nothing but an energy source. The tree of life, the energy of the earth, Avatar.
And here is Mount Ararat, right here.
I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Apparently, it's Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat, yeah. So another big giant, and supposedly it was active as a volcanic source at one point. Hang on, guys.
I'm going to have to get me a mini fridge.
Trying to tell if something noise going on here or if it's over there with you. I got these headphones on. It sounds like it's here. Sound like somebody.
It might have been me. I was running to the refrigerator and back. I was about thirsty to death all of a sudden.
Let's take a look at this mountain from a 3D standpoint. Oh, we got another one over there beside it. Another peak or another old stump. And no, I'm not saying every hill we find is the remnant of a tree. It could be a remnant of a bush. It could be a remnant, but everything was way larger back in the day.
You can see the circle there.
The circle? What do you mean?
Back out. Zoom out. Whoa, right there. See the circle around the center white point?
The big circle here?
Yeah, that's your tree. That's where it broke off level with the ground. The spot in the center, the tree wasn't cut clean, so it had a spike sticking up out the center like a pine tree that snapped off in a storm. There you go. There's your volcano in the middle. You're basing around it as your circular
Yeah,
tree.
maybe. I'm looking at it.
Maybe not all of them are cut off and they have a visible stump sticking up out the ground.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it takes a lot of research to say definitively this is this and this is that, but the general concept of the theory of what we've shared today in this video is, I think, is pretty solid. Are there a lot of details and dots and I's that need to be crossed and dotted and all this? Absolutely, and we're doing that one step at a time. But we showed you a while ago. Well, one, we've shown you the largest, what looks like it was probably the largest tree uh, on the planet, which was Hawaii. And two, I can find another one that has a bigger base. You know, kind of mind, like, well, I'll find out right now. How big is the base of the island of Cyprus? I mean, they even named that one a tree, and it's named the cypress because it grew in a low area, which was likely a little damp and wet. Let's see. It says the island of Cyprus, not to be confused with the cypress tree, is located in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. Let's see here.
And yes, the center of some trees can be hollowed, Dave. Good point, Super Dave.
Yeah. Everything that we see on the smaller scale, like Dave's talking about, we see on the smaller scale here was going on also in the larger scale back in these days. So if you see a tree that had a hole in it, you could end up having a giant mountain that has a giant hole in the side of it. All kind of things, you know. It was pretty big too. It's actually similar in size to
Well, now,
Hawaii. The difference is Hawaii is much, much, much taller. And why that ended up being so much taller and not being cut off so close to the ground, I don't know. I wasn't there. But Cyprus, it sticks up out of the water too, but it's just not as tall.
I don't know if you can look at it or not. I did a file share with you a while ago on here. I don't know if you can pull it up or look at it, but I actually found an image of what the continents would look like if the sea level was backed off. We looked at it one time, me and you. I don't think we were on the show. But one of the viewers, I can't remember who it was the one, because I've always been consumed with, well, where did the tree go? If you cut the tree down, did you take the tree? Did the tree fall? I mean, there had to be biological material. We know that energy never dies. It doesn't matter what it is. If you were a human being, I go out there and dig a hole and put your body in it, it is going to decompose and turn into other natural components, nitrogen, all of these things over time. The longer it stays there, the more it decomposes and switches. Same thing happens with a tree.
Going to consume it, and then humans will end up consuming that. And it's the circle of life. Goes right back. Everything recycles.
Right. In Chernobyl, where the nuclear accident happened, they went over there and planted hemp. Hemp is cleaning the earth because it absorbs that and transmutes it into something else. Trees absorb things. Trees and plants are a natural filter to the toxins that we put in the earth. That's why if you plant a garden and it doesn't grow good, well, it might have been that, the soil's not right. When you grow peanuts, you have to put one thing in to get another thing out. It transmutes that and leaves nitrogen in the ground. Look at the wars. Why we went to war in certain places, and then you'll figure out which tree stumps are important. There is no way in the world with the information that sets up under the Vatican and the Smithsonian and all them other three-letter agencies out there that they aren't hundreds of years ahead of us in this knowledge. We're just finally catching up and putting the pieces together and calling them on their bullcrap.
Yeah. And we could get some of it wrong along the ways. And when we do, we'll come back. When we find that we were wrong, we'll come back and try to correct that. So, like we started out today explaining to y'all guys, we're talking about a lot of theory and things like that. So keep that in mind that I haven't said, well, I explained it well along the way, I think. So, let's see here. Is there anything else I wanted to show real quick?
Just take that 50,000 view, folks. Go on Google Earth, zoom out, so you can zoom in. And there are different filters you can put on Google Earth now. We also know where Google Earth comes from. What you got to lay into that.
Can't trust it completely.
Yeah, you can't trust it completely.
But there got us on a grain of sand flying through space.
Ain't it? Spinning like a tennis ball. No centrifugal, nothing. Just gonna sling us off. It's just all good. It works that way.
The water just sticks to it like on a tennis ball.
Anyway.
People believe anything.
Yeah, people will believe anything. Every time I hear somebody talk about, they're going to the moon, I'm like, why would you go to that space station? I mean, come on. Oh God, I can't even get into that today. But
I got a little ad break we need to take real quick.
All right, go for
Here
it.
we go.